Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So hopefully semua dah ready. So everybody is on the in front of their computer or in front of their handphone for the next learning session. So kita akan sambung dengan chapter 3. So basically this one is actually dalam syllabus is chapter 2. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge or thanks to the people who share the slides here. So the slides here yang kita gunakan hari ini adalah courtesy from one of the lecturers from UiTM Negeri Sembilan. Okay. Yang saya punya tak siap lagi, so nanti saya akan buatkan yang saya punya dan saya akan letakkan dalam website lah. Alright, so anything, let's just look at this one first. Okay, we're going to continue with describing the data. So in general, when we talk about describing the data, once you have collected the data, then we're going to describe the data. So this is more in terms of a descriptive analysis of the data itself. And basically, when we talk about descriptive analysis for a survey data or for a collected data from a secondary sources, we will have two parts on it. So one is through a graphical presentation, and then the other one will be in terms of numerical measures to describe the characteristic of the data itself. Okay, and then as we already known before in our previous lecture, we have looked through that in terms of a variable, we have either can have a categorical variables or we can have a numerical variables. So based on these two type of variables, we can classify the graphical presentation into two parts. So this is not the only graphical presentation that we can have, right? But however, this one is just basically the one that is covered in our syllabus. Okay, of course, out there you can see plenty more ways of presenting your data to the audience. Okay, so when we talk about presenting data through dashboard and whatever, you can see a bunch of maybe several ways of presenting the data, not only by these 4 or 5 techniques that we have on screen right now. Okay, so however, this is the basic one that we're gonna look at in terms of presentation of your data through graphical display. So we divide this into two parts. So one is for the qualitative data, and the other one is for the quantitative data. Okay. For the qualitative data can be classified into categories or classes. So in this situation, you know that before this, when we talk about qualitative variables, it involves variables that can take answers or responses in terms of an attribute or in terms of a category. Okay, so in this situation, you have a categorical data whereby in terms of a categorical variable, so you know that the level of measurement can either be nominal or ordinal. Okay, so these are the 4 types of data presentation that you can have for a qualitative data. Bear in mind, this is only based on our syllabus. It's not limited to these 4 only. Okay, so dia ada lagi lah cara yang lain yang boleh kita persembahkan lagi, tapi kita tak discuss lah dalam kita punya syllabus. Alright, so under qualitative data we have frequency distribution, we have pie chart, we have bar charts and contingency tables. And for the organizing data, for the qualitative data, we're going to look at the stem and leaf plot, the histogram, the frequency distribution also again in the quantitative data, and then frequency polygon and ogive. So bear in mind here, you can see that both techniques have frequency distribution. However, they differ in terms of one thing. So differ in terms of, in this situation, one is for the categorical, the other one is for the numerical or the quantitative data. So later on we're going to look at macam mana apa beza dua ni. So apa yang membuatkan mereka berbeza. So basically kalau saya nak terangkan sekarang, normally they are differ in term of the type of variables that they are being used for the data presentation. Okay. So let's continue with this, the first one, that is a frequency distribution. However, if you look through this first list on the left, you can see that you have frequency distribution, and at the bottom there you have contingency table. A contingency table, or sometimes we call it as a cross tabulation table, ataupun just cross tabulation. So basically both are the same thing. The only thing that differ is that the frequency distribution is actually the special case of a contingency table or a cross tabulation. Why I say it is a special case, because in categorical data and presentation, and also in quantitative data presentation, we have both frequency distribution, which means that in this situation the frequency distribution is a special case of a cross tabulation where we only use one variable. Okay, univariate. Okay, univariate maksudnya there's only one variable involved in the display of the information. Okay, kita akan tengoklah apa maksud frequency distribution and what are the rest of the data presentation looks like. So basically this is not something new to all of you, because you already seen this before. Okay, and maybe some of you already learned this during your school time, so dah belajar dah sebelum ni, so dah ada dah dalam syllabus. So basically this is just simply a revision to all of you. Okay, the frequency distribution is a table consisting of several columns and rows. So in this situation it's not several columns. So in this situation normally we only have two columns in general, and of course we can extend based on these two columns, right? So we can extend based on these two columns. So normally when we have a frequency distribution table, we have the first column referring to the variables, okay, referring to the variables, and the second column will be referring to the count value or the frequency of each of the category in the variables. So in this situation, kalau you perhatikan dalam screen, di depan screen anda, you can see that there is a table with two columns, where you have the first column representing the car model and the second column representing the number of cars. Okay, the second column representing the number of cars. So that's what I said just now. The general form or the basic form of a frequency distribution is you only have one variable involved that is being written on the first column, and you can have the count values on the second column, okay, in the second column. So is it the only way of writing it in terms of column wise? No, it's not. Okay, so you can also have a frequency distribution table in the form of a horizontal manner. Okay, horizontal manner meaning to say, if this one you want to transfer into a horizontal frequency distribution, then you're gonna have the model, the top part here, okay, the top part here, the car model and the number of cars will be in column, and then all the materials or all the insertion of each of the variables here or each of the categories here will be in the in the column wise. Okay, boleh, dia tak ada masalah. Tapi yang kebiasaannya for a normal situation, this is the way we presenting the frequency distribution. Okay, so that is basically the frequency distribution, whereby you only have one variable, and in this situation the variable is in the form of a categorical variables, where you have the variable to be car model, and then it has categories or classified into four category, that is that are potong wajah, Proton Vira, Proton Saga, and Proton Gen 2. So these are the 4 car models under the roof of Proton Sundar Mahat. Okay. And then on the right side there you have the number of cars, and the number of cars here representing the total or the frequency of each category on the left side. So meaning to say, if you have Proton Wajah 66, that means let's say this is a number of car sales or sold by a salesperson in the first quarter, for example. Okay, in the first quarter. So salesperson A is selling about 66 Proton Wajah, and then 50 Proton Vira, 39 Proton Saga, and 25 Proton Gen 2, for example. Okay, so that is basically the basic frequency distribution consisting column and rows. And in this situation, the basic one will be only 2 column and several rows representing the categories of each of the variables. Okay, so in this case, the variable is car model. Can you extend this frequency distribution? Yes, you can extend this frequency distribution into the 3 column or 4 column depending on what information that you want to display. You can come up also with the 3rd column representing the relative frequency. Okay, relative frequency on the total number of cars sold, for example, number of cars. So you can you can come up with the 3rd column representing the relative frequency, and you can also come up with the 4th column representing the percentage. Okay, you convert the relative frequency in terms of percentage. Boleh juga, tak ada masalah. That is the situation that you can have in terms of the frequency distribution. So that means you can have several columns over there. Tapi yang saya katakan tadi, the basic one is only the 2 column here representing the variables with its attribute or with its categories, and the respective number of cars or respective frequency for each of the category. Okay, so that is basically frequency distribution for a qualitative data or for a categorical data. And based on this frequency distribution, instead of presenting the data in the form of tables with numbers and categories, you can also perform or present this data in the form of a graphical display. For a frequency distribution, you can display this information in 2 ways. Okay, this is based on our syllabus. Okay, so kita base pada syllabus kita lah. So dalam syllabus kita hanya ada 2 saja yang kita boleh persembahkan data secara grafik berdasarkan data dalam bentuk frequency distribution. Okay, so the 2 are the pie chart and simple bar chart. Okay, the 2 are the pie chart and simple bar chart. So let's look at bar charts and simple bar chart. Okay, so before that, this is just simply showing you how the frequency distribution is being performing or is being created based on the raw data set. For example, on top here in front of your screen, you have a raw data representing 25 people's blood type. Okay, the blood type of 25 people. So you have this raw data set, and from this raw data set you want to you want to construct a frequency distribution table based on this raw data set, and this procedure is also known as telling the raw data set. Okay, you are telling the raw data set by counting how many of the raw data representing for each of the category. So in this situation, kalau you perhatikan, kita ada beberapa kategori kat sini. So we have in term of blood type A, blood type B, blood type O, and also blood type AB. So that means we have 4 types of blood in this raw data set. So that's why you can just write 4 types of blood type over here. So you have these 4 types of bloods. So once you have classified, once you have identified the attribute for the variables, so in this case, kalau ditanya soalan, if you are asked what is the variable involved in this study, the variable is the blood type, not AB, ABO tu So the variable is the blood type. So the variable is blood type. The level of measurement is nominal. Okay, because you cannot arrange in order the blood type categories. Okay, so variable is blood type, level of measurement is nominal level, and the categories that we have is A, B, AB, and O. So we have 4 categories, or sometimes we call this as attribute of the variables. Okay, attribute of the variables. So in this situation, you have to go through the raw data set and figure out how many of the data from the data is considered to be having a blood type A, and so on, B, AB, and O. Okay, and this process is called tallying, where you just calculate or you count the number of elements in your data set that can be representing the blood type. So in this case, you have A1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you have and then you have 5. So you have 5 blood type A, 5 people having blood type A. So once you have count this value, you just transfer this into the frequency column. So you have 5 over there, and then you do the rest with the other blood type, counting one by one, that representing the blood type. So for B, you have B 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you transfer 7, and then you have AB. So AB is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry, 4 only. Okay, and then lastly you have O. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you have 9 over there, and altogether you have 25 people has been surveyed and their blood type have been recorded. So this is how you come up with a frequency distribution using the tallying procedures. Okay, kita panggil prosedur ni adalah prosedur tally, T-A-L-L-Y. Okay, T-A-L-L-Y. Okay. Okay, the second data presentation for a categorical data is what we call as a pie chart. Okay, what we call as a pie chart. So pie chart is only accessible if you are using a coming out from a frequency distribution. So where you have only one variable over here involved. Okay, if you want to compare 2 variables, you cannot put it in one graph. In that case, you have to come up with 2 pie chart and then compare them. So that means in this situation, for a pie chart, each pie chart represents one variables only, and under this variable it has its attribute. So for example, in this case, you have what is your favorite fruits. So that is your variable. Favorite fruits is your variable, right? In this situation, and you have the variable favorite fruit is a variable. This is a qualitative variable, and you can have the attribute to be the type of variables here: banana, pineapple, orange, grapes, and peach. Okay, and then if you look at this one, so this is level nominal level of measurement, because you cannot arrange in order the favorite fruits. Okay. However, if you want to arrange based on their uh, frequency, then it's okay. But still, the level of measurement for the fruit is nominal. Okay. So this is the pie chart. Of course, whenever in your during your exam, you have to draw. If you are asked to draw the pie chart, you don't have to draw it neatly like this. Okay, you don't need to draw it neatly like this. So you just need to draw approximate values only. You don't have to come up with the correct, with the exact angle, for example. Okay, you don't have to come up with an exact angle. So in this situation, if you look through the pie chart, it's just simply a circle that is divided into pieces or sectors over here, and each sector representing one attribute for the particular variable under study. So yang sectors ni dia adalah diwakili oleh hanya satu saja satu saja attribute untuk setiap slices. Dia tak boleh ada dua. So tak boleh yang slices untuk banana ni dalam ni pun ada peach, tak boleh. Okay, dia kalau banana they are all non-overlapping. Okay, and then in this situation, kalau you perhatikan dekat sini juga, we didn't write the angle values in your pie chart. So kita tak tulis pun dia punya angle values in the pie chart. We only draw the pie chart and then estimate the size of the sectors, okay, based on our calculation, and then we just put the attribute or the categories and its value in terms of percentage. Okay, this is the common one. We just put it in terms of percentage. However, you can also put in the form of the frequency. You nak letak frequency pun boleh, nak letakkan percentage pun boleh. So the reason that we use percentage in this sense is that it is easier for us to explain what the graph is representing, and we can easily identify which one is the highest and which one is the lowest, and so on. Okay, so how do you come up with the percentage over here? Okay, how do you come up with the percentage? Okay, just bear in mind that before this we have this type of frequencies. Okay, we have this type of frequencies. What you need to do is just simply come up with the third column from the frequency table. Come up with the third column representing the relative frequency. How do you get the relative frequency? By taking the values, okay, this value for each of the attribute, and then divided by the total number of data that you have in your data set. For example, in this case, if you want to calculate the relative frequency for blood type A, it will be 5 divided by 25, which is 1/5. And based on this, 1/5 is actually 0.2. So to come up with the percentage, you just need to multiply with 100%, so you get 20%. Okay, you get 20%. Okay, what next? So the next thing that you need to do is just simply come up with the angle. If you need the angle to draw the diagram, okay, to draw the pie chart. So however, it is optional, because with the percentage itself, you can already draw the pie chart. Okay, so you dah dapat macam ni lah. So in this situation, you already have this thing. So how do you estimate the size of the slices or the size of the sectors? Okay, if you are using angle to determine the size of the slices ataupun dia punya sectors tu, so what you need to do is just simply estimate based on the calculation. if for angle, you know that the straight line here refer to 180% on the right and 180% on the left, and from there you can estimate. So kalau you ambil yang first quarter je, it will be 90%. Okay, so 90%, sorry, 90 degrees dekat sini, 90 degrees kat bawah. So you boleh buat macam tu lah. So kalau gunakan percentage pun boleh, sebab you tak perlu nak tulis secara detail. So tak perlu nak tulis secara detail, nak kena kira betul-betul betul ke ni dia punya sudut, the angle is 50 degrees. So you don't have to bring your protector. Okay, protector tu. So dia panggil protector kan, betul kan? Yang kalau dekat sekolah tu you belajar, you pakai yang benda tiga semi circle tu kan, yang ada dia punya apa, dia punya ukuran untuk angle dia. So you don't need to bring that and follow that, right? So you just need to approximate the size based on the value that you have. For example, in this case, banana is 30%. So you know that the first quarter representing 25%. So that means a bit. Okay, kalau kat sini saja, sampai sini je, it will be only 25%. So you not 30% kan, so extend sikit. Okay, so that is the situation. Same thing over here. Kalau you tengok ni, dia lebih sikit lah. Dia tak sudut tepat betul. Okay, so in the exam, apa yang penting dalam kita punya, dalam persembahan data, to get a full mark, if you are asked to present your data in graphical form, no matter which type of graphical form that you have to present, remember that you must have the title of your graph. Okay, mesti ada title. So yang ni dia letak title, pie chart representing the responses to question what is your favorite fruits. So boleh and then yang kedua, for the pie chart here, you must have the attribute or the category together with the percentage or the count values or the frequencies. Okay, boleh letak dua-dua, so you can have both values in the legend here. Okay, in the description here, or you can just have the percentage. Normally we can only have the percentage, because that is the common way of presenting your data in the form of pie chart. Okay, do we need a legend over here? So in this situation, you don't need a legend, because you already put the attribute inside the slices or outside of the slices. If you dah indicate the categories tu, you tak perlu dah letak legend. By right, you don't need to put a legend for a pie chart. Okay, because it's already obvious that you have this inside your graph. However, if your graph don't have the categories written inside the graph or somewhere outside, then you need a legend to represent the sectors. Okay, kena ada legend lah, dia punya petunjuk dia punya petunjuk dekat sebelah kanan, letaklah sebelah kanan ke sebelah kiri ke mana-mana lah, ikut suka hati. Okay, so that is the situation. Okay, ini untuk yang frequency distribution, then you can transfer into a pie chart. Another way of presenting this data is okay, yang ni dia ada tunjuk lah. So this one is not our textbook. So this is textbook. Saya tak ingat buku mana. So yang ni sebenarnya ada sumber lain sini. So cuma ni lah. So this book, textbook actually ditulis, saya rasa ditulis oleh lecturer lain sini dekat lebih campus lain. Cuma sebenarnya dia punya format tu semua dia follow kita punya lah. Sebab masa sebelum ni kita buat buku kita tu, kita distribute kat semua campus, and then dia orang ciplak lah. So tak apalah, nak buat macam mana kan, sharing of knowledge. Alright, cuma dia orang ubah-ubah sikit, tapi dari segi format tu sama macam kita orang lah, macam kita punya. Okay, this display the calculation part. So macam mana kita dapat the percentage and so on. So So this one dia ada key. So by right, kalau tengok dekat sebelah kanan ni, dia punya key ni sebenarnya tak perlu pun tak apa. Okay, tak ada pun tak apa. Sebab apa saya katakan tak ada pun tak apa? Because if you look through now here, inside the pie chart is already written the categories. Okay, so that means you don't need the key on the right side here. Kalau ikutkan tak perlu pun sebab dia dah tulis kat situ. Okay. Alright. So any questions so far? Boleh follow? Boleh? Ada tak ni? Ke tak ada lah? Semua? Ke semua tidur dah? Yeah, alright, okay. So let's continue. Okay, the next one that we're gonna look at is a bar chart. So we can also have the diagram in the form of the frequency distribution to be displayed in the form of a bar chart. Okay, in the form of a bar chart. Okay, in bar chart we have three types here that we're gonna discuss. One is the simple bar chart, and then we have the cluster bar chart and stack bar chart. Okay, in general, normally we have the categories is displayed on the horizontal axis, are displayed on the horizontal axis. So the categories will be representing the x-axis. Okay, and then the frequency will be written on the vertical axis, that is y-axis. Okay, so just now I just mentioned that there are three common type of bar charts. Just remember that whenever you have a, actually it's not vertical bar chart, so betulkan kat situ, we didn't call this as a vertical bar chart. This is a misleading information sebenarnya. So sepatutnya tak boleh kata dah terus vertical bar chart. We only have what we call as a simple bar chart. So, saya betulkan kat sini lah. Okay, saya betulkan. Let me just correct this one. It should be, this one's supposed to be simple bar chart, not vertical bar chart. Simple bar chart, and then okay, same thing with this one. Then saya betulkan juga. Okay, dapat Okay, so bar chart. So we have a simple bar chart, we have cluster bar chart, and stack bar chart. So normally the simple bar chart is being presented through the transform of a frequency distribution for one variable. So frequency distribution, so that is one variable. So from the frequency distribution, you know that the frequency distribution is only for one variable only. Okay, so that means from a frequency distribution you can transform, or you can present the frequency distribution into a graphical display instead For example, the pie chart that we have just discussed just now, and also you can present the data in the form of a simple bar chart. Meanwhile, for the cluster bar chart and stack bar chart is only applicable for 2 or more variables, but we don't do too much on the variables. So normally the cluster or stack bar chart is up to 3, maybe 3. So if we have more than that, it will be more complex. Okay, it will be more complex in terms of displaying the graph. So kalau lebih daripada tu, biasanya kalau katakan 2 ni boleh lagi kita boleh buat dalam bentuk dalam bentuk cluster ataupun stack bar chart. Kalau 3 pun boleh lagi, tapi kalau lebih dari 4 tu kita gunakan kaedah panel. So yang tu is more in the more advanced way lah untuk display the data in graphical forms. Kita boleh buat dalam bentuk panel ataupun facet. So pakai facet ataupun panel. So normally that is being done in data visualization. Okay, data visualization. Okay, so what is simple bar chart? Simple bar chart is simply a chart presented by separate bar for each of the categories. Okay, so in this situation, the height for a vertical bar chart, the height of the bar representing the frequency of each of the category written on the x-axis. So for example, in this case, this is company Z quarterly profit for the year 2014 in RM million. So that means for the first quarter, the profit is 30 million. The second quarter, the profit is 37 million, something like that, and so on. Okay, and if you look through this one, the bar chart is being separated from one to another based on their categories. So they cannot combine together. Dia tak boleh berada bersebelahan, joining. They cannot join you cannot join the bar with this one and become a group, tak boleh. So dia mesti ada gap kat tengah-tengah ni. Okay, mesti ada gap sikit kat tengah-tengah ni, so that we can differentiate between the categories. Okay, this is vertical bar chart. Can you have a horizontal bar chart? Yes, you can have horizontal bar chart. So bilakah kita gunakan horizontal bar chart? And bila kita gunakan vertical bar chart? So there is certain rule of thumb whenever you want to select whether are you going to have a vertical bar chart or a horizontal bar chart. Kalau horizontal bar chart, kita just pusing je lah benda ni, dia akan jadi horizontal. Okay, so dia akan tukar jadi yang y-axis tu akan jadi frekuensi, and then y-axis akan jadi categories. So normally we will perform a horizontal bar chart if we have too many categories, possible 10, 15. So it is much easier to display through a horizontal bar chart. Kalau kita gunakan vertical bar chart, dia akan jadi panjang lah. Dia akan jadi panjang. Kalau banyak kategori lagi panjang. So nampak tak berapa nak cantik kadang-kadang. So that's why sometimes we can present the data in the form of horizontal bar chart. Okay, kita boleh juga buat dalam bentuk horizontal bar chart. Ya, saya tengok ada tak contoh. Let me get something first, and I will give you the example. Teaching assignment slides A404, and you have okay, this one. Ini saya cuba copy ni gambar ni. Okay. Let me get this plot. Copy image. Okay, saya akan betulkan di sini. Saya akan tunjuk satu contoh lah. Yang vertical bar chart, horizontal bar chart. Sekejap. Okay, saya letak kat sini. Okay, so you can see that we have a vertical bar chart and also horizontal on the right. So kat sini kita dapat yang sebelah kanan. Saya betulkan and horizontal. Okay, so you have there. So you have a simple bar chart on the left, that is a vertical one, and then on the right you have the horizontal bar chart. So you can see that how it is displayed, and in this situation you can see exactly the easier way to look at this bar chart, and you can read it through easily with the visualization, right? So for example, in the vertical bar chart just now, I've already mentioned that is profit of the company ZA are higher in the second quarter, the second and third quarters 2014. So you can see that. So basically, kalau bila you present a graph, you need to explain. So this is what being asked in the exam, in the assessment. So whenever you are asked to present a data in the form of graphical display, once you have draw the graph, make sure that you comment on the graph, at least one line saying about the whole graph. Macam ni, there's one of it is say that profit of the company ZA are higher in the second quarter and third quarter of 2014. Sebab dua ni lebih daripada yang lain. Ataupun boleh juga you katakan, okay, the profit of company ZA are the highest in the third quarter with amounted to around 42 million ringgit. Boleh juga So macam-macam lah yang you boleh ceritakan di sini. Same thing with the horizontal bar chart. You can see that here is a data set from the Pokemon type. So siapa tengok Pokemon kan, tahu kan Pokemon kan, cerita kartun kan Pokemon. So dia adalah saya tak tengok sangat Pokemon ni. Okay. Tapi this is the data set from the Pokemon type, yang mana ni daripada game lah. So daripada game lah. So dia ataupun daripada ni dia tengok dari segi berapa banyak kali dia keluar, berapa lama dia keluar, and so on in terms of the frequency. So this dataset is taken from the Kaggle Pokemon dataset. So Kaggle ni adalah satu sumber yang you all boleh rujuk untuk you all buat you all punya project. So you can go to Kaggle, just type in Kaggle. So you can see a bunch of information, bunch of data that you can use as a secondary data untuk buat you punya project. So one of the most popular data yang ada dekat Kaggle ni, yang selalu digunakan oleh semua orang, especially people yang bagi training and so on, adalah data Titanic. Panggil data Titanic. So dia data berkenaan dengan passengers of Titanic. So banyaklah yang buat itu. Okay, this is the horizontal bar chart. So again sama je macam yang vertical bar chart. So, but in this situation right now, the length of the horizontal bar chart representing the frequency. Kalau tadi the height representing the frequency, but right now the length is representing the frequency. And you can sort in terms of this thing. So basically, kalau kita tengok dekat simple bar plot on this one, you can see that the Pokemon type water is the most apa benda lah pasal ni sebab saya tak tahu Pokemon type ni water ni dia data dia macam mana so kita tengok basically based on this one lah. So bila tengok nak water ni yang lebih paling tinggi lah nilai dia. And then you have normal, grass, bug, psychic, fire, benda tadi So this one rasa dia punya kuasa kot kan. Siapa main Pokemon? Siapa tengok Pokemon? Kuasa dia Rasa-rasanya kuasa kot. Sebab ada fire ghost semua kan. Macam itulah. Alright. So that is in term of a simple bar chart. Okay. The next one we're going to look at is what we call as a cluster bar chart. So remember that bila saya katakan cluster bar chart dengan stack bar chart, both of these are not using the frequency distribution anymore. They will be using the cross tabulation data. Okay, data obtained from the cross tabulation or from the contingency tables to come up with this graph. Okay, because the contingency table and the cross tabulation basically involve two or more variables. Okay, two or more variables. Kalau satu variable saja, biasanya kita panggil sebagai frequency distribution. A special case of the contingency table. Okay, so in this situation we have two variables. What are the variables? So kalau saya boleh tag kat sini, apa variables dia? Cuba tengok kat sini. So kita ada dua variable kat sini. So involve two variables where the variables are distribution of vehicle by origin and type. So maknanya vehicles by origin. Kita ada satu origin dan satu lagi dia punya types. Okay, dia punya type apa. So origin yang mana? So origin sama ada dia origin Asia, Europe or USA. And then the type will be either hybrid car, hybrid vehicle, the sport utility vehicle or the sedan, the sports truck or wagon. Okay, ni dia punya type. So basically the first level categories is this one So yang hybrids SUV ni, this is the first level categories. For a cluster bar chart, the first level categories will combine together the second level categories. The second level categories yang ni yang Asia, Europe, USA. So dia combine sebab tu kat sini dia ada 3. Okay, dia ada 3. So Asia, Europe and USA. And then there is a gap. Then come back with Asia vehicle for sedan. Okay, number of vehicle for sedan for Asia. And then number of vehicle for sedan in Europe. And number of vehicle for sedan in USA. And then ada gap balik. So of course for each cluster, so dipanggil yang ni cluster sebab cluster tu maksudnya dia kumpulkan sebelah persebelahan. Or sometimes we can also call this as multiple bar chart. Okay, we can call this cluster bar chart or multiple bar chart. So bila kata cluster bar chart, multiple bar chart, basically they means the same charts like this. For multiple bar chart and cluster bar chart, the categories for each of the first level categories, the second level categories for each of the first level categories will be combined together side by side. So dia tak ada gap antara biru dengan orange ni. Tak ada gap antara orange dengan hijau. But bear in mind, the arrangement of the bar must be the same. You tak boleh letak kat sini biru, sini orange, sini hijau, tiba-tiba kat sini jadi orange, biru, hijau. Tak boleh. Lepas tu kat sini pula jadi hijau, orange, biru. Tak boleh juga. Okay, dia mesti consistent. If you start with the blue one in the first bar for each of the cluster, then you have to start with the blue one also for the rest of the first level variable. Boleh So this is the cluster bar chart, and of course the height of each of the bar will be representing the frequency. Cuma pastikan antara satu cluster, antara satu first category level dengan the second category for the first variable level, mesti ada gap, mesti ada ruang kosong kat sini, dia tak boleh bersambung. Okay, macam ni ada putih-putih kat tengah-tengah ni kan. So itulah yang memberikan dia sebagai cluster bar chart. So remember, for cluster bar chart, the bar is placed side by side. Okay, side by side. Okay, so this is cluster bar chart. And then you can also have component bar chart, or sometimes we call this also as a stack bar chart. So there are two types of component bar chart. So one is the component bar chart itself, the simple component bar chart, and the other one is called the percentage component bar chart. Okay, the component bar chart itself without the percentage, normally it is the height of the bars won't be the same. But for the percentage component bar chart, the height of the bars will be the same throughout the categories. Okay, ketinggian untuk percentage bar chart dia, komponen bar chart, dia punya ketinggian mesti sama saja bagi setiap kategori. So kita akan tengok yang tu And again, for this one, it come from the contingency table with two or more variables involved. Okay. Okay, this is the component bar chart, the basic one, the basic component bar chart where you stack one on top of the other. Okay, kena ingat kat sini bila kita katakan stack bar chart, it doesn't overlap the lower one. So dia kena tambah. So macam kita pakai ambil buku lah. So kalau kita susun buku, stacking. Okay, so maknanya we take the bar and put it on top of the first bar. Kalau yang the third bar, kita ambil pula letak atas yang the second bar, and so on. Okay, dia tak overlap terus. Macam kita letak buku lah. Okay, kita letak buku satu, kita susun buku ke atas kan. So, dia stacking. Okay, that means kalau kita tengok balik, if you look through this graph again, if you want to transform this graph into a component or stack bar chart, what you need to do is just simply take the second bar here and put it on top of the first bar. And then take the third bar in the SUV and put on top of the second bar. So it become taller and taller. Okay, dia tak overlap. So tak ada kita ambil sini, lepas tu yang ni sama tinggi, dia tak letak, tak ada. So dia kena letak satu. Sebab bila kita stack satu dekat atas. Okay, so you can transform that. So just take on the right side, the second bar, put it on top of the first bar, and then take the third bar and put it on top of the second bar. Then you can get a stack or component bar chart for this particular graph. Okay. Okay. So if you look through this one, you can see that for the basic component bar chart, the height is not the same. Okay, so dia akan stack. But for the percentage component bar chart, you can see that the height for each of the bar will be arranged in order. So ini ada data yang tadi itulah, yang data pasal kereta tadi so pasal vehicle types just now. Tapi in this case, we just put in term of years. Okay, kita just ambil in term of years. So you have this for Asia 3, 10, and 8. So you get 100%. So how do you get the percentage over here? Okay, we take the percentage by taking the relative frequency for each of the category. So contohnya kat sini, kita ada for Asia we have 3, 10, and 8. So that means you have how many? 21, right? So you have 21 altogether. When you combine 3, 10, and 8, you get 21. So to calculate the percentage, what you need to do is just simply take 3 divided by 21 and then multiply with 100. Okay, so you get 3 divided by 21 dapat apa? 1/7 kan? Apa ni? Message. Okay, you dapat 1/7, right? Betul Okay, you get 1/7. That is equivalent to around 1/7 will be around 14% or 15%, something like that, right? So that's what you have here. It will be around 14% or 15%. So ditambah lah, tanda lah. And then for the second one, you have 10 divided by 21, right? So 10 divided by 21. So you get around 47%, almost 50%. So you tambah lah dengan tadi tu. So you tambah balik dengan yang 14% dan 15% tu, dapatlah around 60%, right? So you have around 60% over here. So dia letak atas. So sampai last kali you akan dapat 100%. Okay? So this is go through by categories. Boleh Kalau you nak kira by years, then you calculate horizontally. Yang ni kita guna by categories for Asia, North America or Europe, right? If you want to have the Asia representing North America and Europe here representing by the year, then you will calculate across the rows. Okay, so by row kat sini. So you akan dapat ni 7 tambah 4 tambah 7, you akan dapat 14. And then take 3 divided by 14 and then multiply with 100, we get the first bar. And then second and third. Okay, so you can change this one into years. So depending on your objective, apa yang you nak capai. Alright. So that is for the percentage component budget. And then this will be the contingency table, or sometimes we call this as a cross tabulation. It can be in the form of 2 variable or more. But the more variable you put into your contingency table, the more complex the table will looks like. So that's why we try to limit the variables into at least at most pun 4 lah biasanya. So kita tak ada tak lebih daripada tu. Kalau lebih daripada tu dia akan nampak lebih nampak pelik sikit lah. Okay, it will looks doesn't look nice and a bit difficult for you to apa untuk baca lah, right? Let me just check on this one. Okay, let me get this one. Boleh dapat tak? Okay. Let me try getting this diagram untuk tunjuk kat you all. Saya nak tunjuk satu benda. Saya buka guna H dulu lah, senang sikit nak ni. Okay, we can because yang dalam ni, so this one is actually only 2 categories, two variable. So in this case you only have 2 variable, that is gender and color. Also cost tabulation, dia ada yang 3 tak? Tak ada. Okay, so dia ada 2 variables saja ni. Saya nak tunjuk yang ada 3 variables. So let me get the diagram first. Okay. Capture. Okay, okay. kecil lah. Ayah tak ada kecil ayah tak kecil. Ctrl Z. Okay, tak apa, saya letak kat atas ni lah. Saya betulkan Ctrl V. Okay. Alright, so kalau you tengok kat situ, if you look through this one, you can see two tables here. The first one here, you have also called a cross-constituent table. So the gender and color here, this is a two-way contingency table. You call this as a two-way contingency table or two-way cross tab. Alright, so because you only have two variables, that is gender and color. Alright, so you have gender, men or women, and then you have the color to be red, green, white, black, blue, and so on. Right? So you have, and then the numbers inside the cells here. So the number inside the cell 30, 10, 26 here. So representing the joint frequency between the two variables. For example, in this case, you can say that for the 30, the first 30 here, it is there are 30 men who prefer red cars. Okay, so 30 men who prefer red car, because this one is a data representing the type of car preferred by the color of car preferred by men and women. Okay, so that's proper. In this case, the 30 here representing men and red, so that means there are 30 men who prefer red color car. Okay, so the table shows that men prefer black cars while women prefer red cars. See, dan itu dia compare pula. Untuk yang red ni, sorry, mana dia tengok ni, the cost compare across the whole diagram, across the whole table, and he sees that for men, the highest is 33, that is for black cars, and then for women, the highest is 45. So that is what it means by the explanation over here. The table shows that men prefer black cars, but this is the highest value, while women prefer red cars. 45 is the highest value for women. Okay. And then dia boleh tambah lagi, men dislike blue cars. Kenapa dislike blue cars? Because men only have blue cars. Yang ni ada nilai dia hanyalah 1 sahaja. Okay, this is a two-way contingency table, ataupun kita panggil sebagai two-way cross tab. Okay, we can also have a three-way contingency table or three-way cross tabulation. So the top part here give you an example where you have three variables, the three-way. So you have the first variable to be education attainment, and then you have by sex and marital status. So ada tiga kategori, ada tiga variable involved in this table. The first one is educational attainment. The second will be sex, male or female. And then the third one will be the marital status, married or never married. And then they have the education over here. But so they tak total kat sini lah. So you can add the total column and rows over here. But this one is just simply the variables and its frequencies. Okay, sebagai contohnya yang ni, kalau ada yang ni BA ni, kita tengok post bachelor's degree so maka attainment dia, so for male, married male, there are 24 of them having a bachelor's degree. Boleh cakap macam itulah. Okay, so that is basically the type of data presentation for a qualitative data. Okay, any questions so far? Boleh?